Hello and welcome, I'm Tafra Agdamu. Over the centuries, thousands of Islamic manuscripts have been produced here in Ethiopia. But where do we find those treasures and what's being done in terms of conservation? My guest today, Hassen Muhammed, is a philologist. Very well, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So when we talk about the Islamic heritage in terms of written things, what are we talking about? Manuscripts come
First,
top of the list, right?
yeah, maybe when Islam introduced, left many imprints in Ethiopia, which complement Ethiopian civilization. We can say Ethiopian Islamic civilization. That can be exemplified by manuscript production and various inscriptions on graves, coins, and other literary heritages. But the manuscript production is more effective and well circulated to different regions of Ethiopia since early period, even if we can't give the inception period of the manuscript production.
It would have been a little over later after the introduction of Islam to Ethiopia in 7th century AD, correct?
Yes. At that early period, we can take one example as starting point. The letter of Prophet Muhammad to Najashi, King Najashi. He sent a letter to him. That letter well received by the king, and that is the first literary heritage we receive in Arabic, when Arabic is at its early stage.
So when we talk about these manuscripts, we are talking about the language Arabic as a language employed to produce those manuscripts, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have manuscript in two languages. One is Arabic language, which used in Ethiopia as intellectual language for scholars. The second also, Ajami. Ajami means different languages used Arabic script for vernacular language. Yeah, so the manuscript exists in these two languages. One is Arabic. The second is many Ethiopian languages written in Arabic script. For example, you can mention Amharic Ajami, Afan Oromo Ajami. Until now, we documented about around 11 Ethiopian languages written in Arabic, in Ajami. When we talk about manuscript, we talk preprint culture. It is written by hand, produced by...
It's a very exquisite, if you will, calligraphy.
Yeah, that is, it's well decorated, and even the manuscript, we can say the content contained in well decorated support. That support is the container, the manuscript. We see inside many knowledge, the bookmaking and the art of decorating. That is additional to the manuscript, which should be studied alone to study art.
So those are like the Quran. The Quran is one in various forms.
Yes.
There are also other Islamic teachings that are. Can you elaborate a little bit on those manuscripts?
When we are talking about the content of the manuscript, the themes they are discussing, mainly, yes, as you said, Quran comes first. Second, the praising the Prophet. This because, the entering to Islam is by saying, witnessing the existence of God and also witnessing the Prophet as a messenger of God. So the manuscripts focus on these two. Then the traditional schools produce various teaching material. For example, jurisprudence works, hadith, the saying and action of the Prophet, which is recorded from early period, and also language. For example, different science of language, Arabic grammar, morphology, syntax, even also rhetorics, all these are the manuscripts discuss all these areas. Even sometimes non-religious subjects like medicine, astronomy, by Ethiopian and also foreign scholars.
So where was this produced primarily?
Primarily, it were produced in Islamic traditional schools,
Like in Wollo and Tigray,
Yes.
and then in
in many Ethiopian
Harar and
Yes.
Bali and
Yeah, this is the one you mentioned are the main one. Also, there are many in all Ethiopia, from Dahlak to Barbara or to Zayla. This area are rich in producing Islamic literary heritage in manuscript form. Now you can mention others, like for example in Jimma in different schools, in Arsi in different schools, Bali at the same time. Even now many people, they don't think that in northern Ethiopia like Gondar and Gojam they are not existing, but we have many manuscripts from this area by Gondarian Muslim scholars, by Gojam Muslim scholars.
But we're not talking about massive manuscript production centers as we see in West Africa, right?
Yeah.
So concerning the Islamic teachings, the Quran, and Islamic jurisprudence, astronomy, mathematics, and so on and so forth. It wasn't as massively produced as they were in West Africa, correct?
Yeah, when we compare with West Africa, the West African production is very huge. One collection contains maybe about 30,000 manuscripts. Institute of Ahmed Baba, a well-known center, it is a 16th century university of West African area. So it contains today, maybe if I am not missing the data, about 30,000 manuscripts in one center. There are other libraries which collected by Abdul Qadir, Mama Haidara, and other also Bukhari and other centers.
But for example, in Ethiopia, in Harar was the center of Islamic learning.
Yeah.
There was production
Yeah.
at a larger scale of manuscripts, right?
Yeah.
But doesn't come close to what was produced in West Africa.
Now, when we compare in number, in number, it's not that much like huge like West African, but the quality of production, the art of book making, book binding, not even West Africa, even it is much better than Islamic world.
Yeah, the decorative element is very interesting. I've seen this, yeah.
This was witnessed by Burton when he visited in 1950s Harar. He said, save Persia, it is best book binding and art of bookmaking in Harar.
So where are those manuscripts now?
Majority of Ethiopian Islamic Arabic manuscripts were owned by private hands, by private collectors. When we say private hand, the scholars who teach students in different schools, they use it for. They are active in for teaching as a text material used in the center. So it remains with the scholars. Then when the scholar die, inherited by the family they don't want to leave this legacy. They preserve them within their collection. This is how it exists now.
So most of these manuscripts to this day are in private hands, and we don't know how many are in private hands.
Yeah.
So let's yeah.
We have very few inventory.
Done, yeah. But let's talk about the public institutions that are housing these manuscripts or this Islamic literary works, if you will. Like, for example, the Institute of Ethiopian Studies comes top in the list. They're known for housing quite a number of ethnographic objects, probably top in the country, right?
Yes.
So we have several manuscripts also at the Institute of Ethiopian Studies, right?
Yes.
But not too many.
Yeah, not many. Comparing to what exists in the ground, there are not many even.
Over 300?
Yes, over 300. All are catalogued. There are few which are not included in the catalogue. So more than 300 manuscripts in various disciplines, jurisprudence, language, literary works exist in the Ethiopian Institute of Ethiopian Studies archive.
How were they obtained by the institute? Were they donated by individuals?
Yes, when in 1970s, where they are the curator of the center, I think took responsibility of collecting. He used students of Addis Ababa University to send to different areas, specifically to Harar. They send to Harar and they bring back with many objects, including manuscripts. So the collection of Ethiopian studies contain manuscript from Wallo, but the majority from Harar area. They are not much from other parts of Ethiopia like Jimma, Bale, RC area, and Gondar, Gojam, Wallo. Wallo or some part of Wallo.
Why?
Yeah, that is what available for them at that time. The collection mission didn't continue in the same way at the inception period.
The Ethiopian National Archives here at the Ministry of Culture also has some manuscripts, right?
Yes. Now, I think they have about 9, which we already listed and tried to catalog. They have 9. But now they are working. We are working together, digitalizing. They are digitalizing. They go to the centers and took permission from the owners and do digitalizing on the spot. They have now many manuscripts in digital form, but not in the physical. They have it.
Because the owners would feel much more comfortable having it digitized than handing those manuscripts over to those institutions, right?
Yeah, because when you digitize, you are assuring for future use, even for the family also. They can, if anything happen, if the manuscript burned or maybe endangered, they can come to National Archive and ask for the original data, metadata, which is preserved in the center.
How about the Ethiopian National Museum? It doesn't look like it has more than 4 or 5 manuscripts, right?
Yeah, now this data, I think, increased. One of my friends did some survey there, Nuruddin, and he witnessed more than 16 manuscripts now. So each institution are increasing by owning manuscripts, especially National Archive, when the manuscript may be looted or maybe some tourists took to outside, they took on the gates, whether maybe immigration or other part there.
At the airports, yeah. In less than 10 years, you have what?
Yeah.
3 times as many.
Yeah, now many, because they got, I think, from the airport.
Yeah,
when they got manuscript directly, they...
Not all of them, though, are they?
I'm not sure. I am not sure. All are from there, or they also did some collection on the ground.
When it comes to those, to our Islamic heritage, in terms of those objects and manuscripts and so on, Harar, as we discussed earlier on, comes to mind, right? Yeah. And Harar is the most important element in this conversation, and that's why we have quite a few repositories, if you will, of those manuscripts. My favorite, the Sheikh Sharif Museum in Harar, that's a private collection.
Yeah, Abdullah Sharif did big job in preserving these manuscripts in Harar. He initially started just by collecting music. He was part of musical band. They want to celebrate 25 years of their. They do want to celebrate. So they agreed to collect all music tasks until that day. So he took that responsibility. Then when he went to musical shops and the private lovers of musics, he started observing also other heritage which need attention. That's how he came to collect. From that day, in 1990s, until now, he is collecting, preserving, displaying, and also teaching, training youngsters how to do binding, an old tradition of bookmaking.
Yeah, exactly, bookmaking too. So what are we talking about in terms of numbers? Now he thinks has over 1,000.
When I interviewed Abdullah Sharif, he mentioned about 1,000 manuscripts. Maybe some are from few pages and up to huge number of pages.
He has also,
according to him, there are fragile manuscripts which not yet touched, which needs special attention. Some deteriorated manuscripts which exist now in the storage also. That not included in this data.
as the collection increased, they also gave him a new house where he can use this as a museum, right?
2011, I think he got that new house. Now I think well done. He used to preserve and display in his own house. Now moved to this one.
So we have two more in Harar, right? There is one managed by the local tourism bureau, right?
Yes.
And another one which is...
Yeah, there are now there are two government institutions like Adagar, the cultural house of Harari Cultural House, also contain many manuscripts, and also Harari National Museum also contain many manuscripts. This belongs to the government. Recently, I heard they established a manuscript museum, that I didn't visit. They have. There are also other collection in other small institutions in the same city.
I don't know what we have in Jimma.
Yeah, Jimma mainly exists in private hands. To well-known scholars, like
there is a museum, but they have objects, but more ethnographic objects than manuscripts and so on.
The National Museum also now. I have seen more than 14 manuscripts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have now on the display. Yeah, recently I visited with a group of scholars. We witnessed that.
Now, I understand that you have also opened a new, I would say, what? Is that a museum? You call it the Bilal Museum here in Addis Ababa?
Yes.
Of which you are a member?
Yes, I am also a member, one of the founder of the museum.
So what are you aiming at?
The objective of the museum is first is to collect, and second to preserve. Thirdly, to display for the tourists and the local users. Thirdly, to contribute to the local Ethiopian economy by attracting tourists who are interested in Islamic material culture and also manuscript. For example, researchers who want to do study on manuscripts.
So is it fair to assume that those manuscripts and material culture you just mentioned and so on, which are old in nature and type 2, would they continue to remain in private hands in the years to come?
Yeah, this is it's debatable. We need to think very well where should be kept. Yeah, the best place is, of course, the well-organized institutions like National Archive, museums of various, whether it is in the federal state in Addis or in the regional museums. They should come to that place. At the same time, because we cannot get all manuscripts from private hands, they don't allow to move their material to these institutions. So we have to think how to train local owners how to handle the manuscript, preserve the manuscript, and also make it available, accessible for researchers, tourists, or for all who interested. Yeah, that is. There must be a project to focus private collectors.
Where do you stand along that line? Are you making a difference? Have you started that yet, in earnest?
We only recommend. We don't have that ability. So
who would be best placed to help do that?
Yeah, there are UNESCO and other embassies of various embassies who interested in heritage. For example, EU funded a project to digitize Horn African Islamic literary heritage, which is headed by Professor Alexandro Gori. So not only local institutions, even international institutions also should work. British Library, Endangered Archive also contributing in this. Now they already started contributing to this area, and others should come to support also. Arab embassies and local institutions like Ethiopian Islamic Supreme Council and local national archives, museums, universities. Yeah.
Well, I hope all the stakeholders take note of your recommendation. Thank you very much indeed, Hassen. It was really a pleasure having you on my show.
I'm also very happy to meet you here and share my knowledge in this regard.